Hello and welcome back to the Sports Centre YouTube channel. Continuing on with the theme of the summer transfer window, the top 5 clubs in England, who do they need to sign? Today's video is all about the Magpies, Newcastle United. Pull on silent. Newcastle scraped into the Champions League. Well, look, I'm doing them a bit of an injustice there. They didn't scrape. They fucked up on the last game of the season. They should have cruised past Everton, really. They didn't. Everton did a number of them. Anyway, Newcastle, they're in the Champions League and they've had a year out of it. They was in it, they was out of it, they're back in it. And I'm sure in that time, Eddie Howe and the club, or the board, they will have done their research. They'll have kind of gone back, looked at where they need to strengthen, look at where they fell short. And I'm sure, given that Newcastle have got the funds to pretty much fucking buy anyone in the world, that Newcastle will have a war chest there ready to go this summer. And I think one of the key things is they'll hold on to their main assets. So Anthony Gordon, Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, Joe Linton maybe. Look, all those players, I'm sure now, will have at least one more year, I dare say, at Newcastle now that they are in the Champions League. But anyway, never mind the players that they do have. Let's have a look at the players that potentially Newcastle need. I've got a list in front of me, and I'm going to start. Do you know what? I'm going to start with the strikers. Normally we go defence to striker, but I'm going to do the way around this time. Strikers. They've got one of the best strikers in the world at the moment. Arguably, maybe the best striker in the world. Alexander Isak. He's quality. He's absolutely quality. But they don't have no competition for him. And if you are going to compete on all 4 fronts, because look, Newcastle want to compete. They've had a taste this season of that trophy. They haven't won a trophy for that many years. And, they got to a final last year. They lost. They got to a final this year. They beat Liverpool. So now they will be hungry for more success. And with success, you need to strengthen when you are at the peak of your powers. And right now, I dare say that Newcastle probably are at the peak of their powers. I mean, don't get me wrong, they've probably got a few more levels to go, but right now you'd say Newcastle are at a position of strength, and this is where they need to strengthen. And a striker, I think, is definitely one, because you cannot run Alexander Isak into the ground playing Champions League, FA Cups, League Cups, Premier League. He just won't do it, and the proof's in the pudding. Look, and I've got some stats here in front of me. Now, his injury record has been, I'm not saying torrid, but it's been a little bit of a mixture over the last 2 or 3 years. Now, it's got better as time goes on. So last season, this is his Premier League games alone, he missed 4 games. The season before that, 23-24 season it was, he missed 8 games. And the season before that, so 22-23, he missed 18 league games. So Newcastle are obviously managing him better. You can see that in the stats. But Callum Wilson's gone now. They didn't renew his contract. It expired. They've not given him another deal. So he's out the door. Newcastle need a striker. Let's drop into the midfield. Now, Eddie Howe reminds me a little bit of Jurgen Klopp. Obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan. Jurgen Klopp plays that high-intensity football, high pressing, win the ball back, legs. You need them legs in midfield. Newcastle have got a great midfield, arguably one of the best midfields in the league for now. And I say for now because the proof's in the pudding, and I witnessed this at Liverpool. We won the league and we flogged our midfield. We didn't strengthen when we was at the top. And we went again with Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum, all them players, James Milner, and ultimately all of their legs fell off at the same time. Now, I think if you're going to play that style of football, you will only get 3-4 years at best out of players, especially in the midfield, when you're asking them to kind of press all the time. And I think this midfield, maybe not next season, but the season after, will be coming to the end of its reign, end of its time, and they're going to need to strengthen. And I think, like I say, I believe Newcastle have got one of the best midfields in the league in terms of balance and personnel, strength, power, pace, passing. They've got it all. But I think they need another midfielder personally to bolster that midfield and again compete on all fronts and especially in the Champions League. So midfield is one I think Newcastle need to strengthen with. Into the defence now. Tricky one for me this with Newcastle because I'm going to sound like I'm doing a bit of an injustice here that they haven't got a good enough defence. They have got a good defence, but centre halves. It's well known that they wanted Mark Gay last summer. Didn't get him. Didn't get anyone in there, so you would imagine that Eddie Howe will still want someone of that ilk to fill in because, Dan Burns has been kind of flirting with flirting with centre-back and left-back. And look, they've got Lewis Hall now that's predominantly playing left-back, so Dan Burns can kind of come back across and he's playing centre-half, which I feel is his best position. But again, they need to strengthen in there, I think. They've got Shah and Botman and Bird, and I think one more body in there would do good. Get rid of your Lascelles. I don't know if we've got another centre-half in there. Can't think. But anyway, Lascelles' time, I think, he's done at Newcastle. Get another body in there to bolster that back four, especially in the middle. Right back, I think Kieran Trippier, he has his best days are behind him. Great servant to football, great servant to the club. Been a fantastic player, but he nearly got a move out of Newcastle last summer and January, and I think this summer it will be a case of Kieran Trippier, thanks for your services, you've been brilliant, but see you later, pal. Tino Livramento, brilliant player. I like him a lot. He's got a lot to offer the game, and I think he's only going to get better. But if Trippier goes, they need to strengthen. They need another option to compete with Livramento because he's only a young lad, he's Livramento, and as I say, to be playing Champions League, Premier League, League Cups, FA Cups, it's high demand, high demand. Yeah, and then left back, I think the same. They've got Lewis Hall. Great player, great talent. I think he potentially could push to be England's left back in the near future, I dare say. But who's pushing behind him? He's only a young lad. When you get in the Champions League, you don't want to burn these guys out too much too early. And I think pretty much exactly what I've said at the right back with Tino Livramento, albeit Livramento's got a little bit more experience than Hall. I do think that Newcastle will need a left back as well to strengthen in that department. So it's going to be an interesting summer for Newcastle because I feel that they potentially need 4 or 5 players, and not necessarily players that are going to slot into the starting 11. So it might be easy to pick some of these players up, but players that are going to push the first team, is going to push for places, and probably they're going to start more in your FA Cups and your League Cups, and some players that they can look to develop and who knows, come into the first team in the next 2 or 3 seasons. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Newcastle. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with me. Let me know of any other areas you think that Newcastle potentially need to strengthen to be able to compete in the Champions League and the domestic cups and also the Premier League next season. And also, if you've not subscribed to the channel, why the hell not? Get over there and hit that subscribe button right now. I'll catch you in a bit.